Nail by Ian Jones and Andy Edwards. Episode 4, The Train Journey. Thursday, March the 26th, 1942. Nail and Maggie are getting the train to Gowerton for Nail to visit Rebecca in Swansea tomorrow. It's taken 28 years for Nail to pluck up the courage to deliver the letter. Many painful memories are triggered for Nail, and his sense of guilt about Bobi Bach's death is stronger than ever. I'm really nervous about tomorrow. Meeting Bobby's widow, Rebecca, and their son Robert after all these years. We caught the late bus to Carmarthen to get the train to Gowerton. The journey wasn't very comfortable. Bus was bouncing all over the place. So was my mind, to be honest. Hardly spoke to Maggie all the way. Kept thinking about Bobby. If I'd had a proper look over that crater. Oh God. I rubbed my temples to make it go away, but it won't. We spent a bit of time in town before getting the train. Bit of lunch in the West Wales Cafe in King Street. Then Maggie went round the shops while I went to see Ray and the Drovers. She didn't have much time to shop, to be honest. Half-day closing on Thursdays. We board the train from platform 2. GWR says the sign above the ticket office. God's wonderful railway. That's what my father used to call it. Him and his brother Gareth went off all the time on the train to look for work in Llanelli before the Great War. Never found any, mind. Just came back in the evening, drunk and still unemployed. Not sure if they were looking that hard. We sit silently in an empty carriage and stare out of the window at the river until the train grinds to a halt at Ferryside. There are donkeys tied to the railings alongside the platform, carrying sackfuls of tightly shut cockles. The cockle women load their baskets on board for the market in Llanelli or Swansea. I look out through the drizzle across the estuary. Everything is grey. The sand, the water, the sky. Even the buildings along the seafront in Llanstefan are grey. There's a huge cloud of pure white steam from the funnel as the engine pulls out to the station. I wanted to be an engine driver when I was a little boy. Used to watch the trains go under the bridge in Blaenwaun on their way back and forth from the colliery full of coal. Seemed like an exciting job. Important job, you know. In control of a powerful monster, keeping the coal and the passengers safe. I look at Maggie. Is Swansea safe now, do you think? I ask. Oh, of course it is, she says. Don't be silly now. Everything will be fine. You're doing the right thing. The train clunks noisily over the level crossing in Kidwelly. I look through the window at the castle, sombre, grey. Remember, Maggie adds reassuringly, you are braver than you believe, and you are stronger than you seem, and smarter than you think. I smile and put my hand on top of hers. The view along the course can be spectacular on a clear day, but when the drizzle is heavy like this, it feels like you're chuffing through a cloud. The windows are yellow with cigarette smoke, and so is the carriage ceiling. Maggie, I say as we pull out of Buryport, I need to talk to you. I need to go over things properly before I see Rebecca. I need to get it straight in my head. That's why I'm here, she smiles. I take the letter from my pocket and open it. We were a team, see, Maggie. Me and Bobby signed up together for the regiment. Thought we were going on an adventure. We'll be home by Christmas, Bobby said as we left Aberystwyth. Courage or naivety, I'm not sure. We had no idea what lay ahead of us. Lloyd George's 38th Welsh Division. We were proud, see? King and country. Weeks we marched when we got over the channel. I'll tell you what. You know the value of a good pair of boots when you're on your feet all day? Maggie agrees, and I look down at my shoes. Nothing like we could have imagined, Maggie. The engine driver gives a mighty blast on the whistle as we pass Newport Steelworks. Do you know? They only make Anderson shelters there now, I say. Nothing else. Maggie doesn't answer. She knows I'm avoiding the subject. And soon after we leave Llanelli, I start up again. Bobby wrote the letter a few days before we reached the woods. We'd come under a bit of fire, we had, and lost a couple of men, but it still didn't seem real, you know? Like it was happening around you and you were just watching. Does that make sense? She nods. We were sitting by the support vehicles which were taking munitions and supplies to the front line. Read it to me, he did. Asked me what I thought. His deepest feelings, you know. Shared them with me. Put the letter in his pocket and we went back to the battalion. When we got to Mametz, they told us we'd take the wood in a matter of hours. They had no idea how many Prussians were in there. Bloody donkeys we were. We lost 400 men on the first day. Most of them Welsh. And by the time we reached the woods, there's hardly a tree standing. And dead bodies everywhere. It was terrifying, Maggie. She looks at me warmly but doesn't speak. Doesn't want to break my flow, perhaps. Well, me and Bobby were lying in a ditch, see, with the rest of the battalion. And Sergeant Griffiths was next to me, and I could see all the boys lined up along the ditch. Like toy soldiers we were. Underarmed and undertrained. Do you know? They accused us of cowardice after the battle. Said we lacked spirit. I pause. Talk is cheap. They weren't there. Never known spirit like it. I pause again as I picture the scene. The first wave had gone into the wood. We were following them, treating all the injured men. Tried to get them back on their feet, you know. I didn't really know what I was doing, if I be honest. I was so scared. Bobby was the brave one. Come on, Neil, we'll be all right, he said. It was Bobby who started calling me Neil. Hobart, he said. Hob Neil. Nail, see? Maggie smiles. God, it was horrible, Maggie. Our stretcher was in between us on the mud, and Sergeant Griffiths was staring straight ahead, motionless, calm he was. He'd done it before, see? Hold steady, lads, he said. We were too scared to move. I looked down the line, saw Stevens 432 being sick in his hands, sick with fear, you know. Dewi Jenkins, 618, crying like a child. I think I'd have cried if Bobby wasn't with me. The noise, deafening. Worse than the Blitz last year. Machine guns, shells, grenades, screams and wails of the wounded men crying for their mothers like little boys. Little boys most of us were when you think about it. Only a year older than Verdun is now, I was. We waited for the captain to blow his whistle. I remember. He kept looking at his watch. "Keep calm, lads," says Griffey. "Keep the faith, we'll be all right." "He sounds like a brave man," Maggie says. I'd forgotten she was listening. "He was," I reply. "Very brave." Close my eyes and I can picture Sergeant Griffiths. And a lovely man. Experienced soldier, you know. Looked after us. Bit of a father figure, to be honest. Just before the Locher Bridge, our train pulls over onto the sidings. We wait while a munitions train passes us on its way to Swansea, or even Cardiff, perhaps. "Tickets, please," says the guard. You only got on the train in Llanelli. Most of the time you can go as far as there without paying. Not that I've done it, mind. Well, not that often anyway. I smiled to myself. Don't suppose my father and Uncle Gareth ever paid. Maggie squeezes my hand. I look up at her and carry on. When the whistle blew, when it blew, we charged, screamed like madmen through the tree line. I had our stretcher in one hand, my pistol in the other, running like stupid children towards the gunfire. Almost like it was a game. Had no idea what I was supposed to be doing or where I was running to. I followed Bobby through the broken trees and the broken dead, mangled bodies looking for signs of life. We found a few men with shrapnel injuries. Tidied them up the best we could. But most of them were dead or dying. Oh God, Maggie. There were bits of bodies everywhere. Oh, I put my hands to my head and cover my eyes. "Stop if you want," she says. No, I'm all right, I say. I need to get it out. It's been in there too long. Bobby found one Tommy who'd had his thumb shot off. He was just sitting there in shock. He wasn't even taking cover. Just sat in the mud staring at where his thumb used to be. Bobby tidied it up with some lint, told him to shoot with the other hand. He was only about my age. Charged off he did, screaming towards the gunfire. He was dead before he got 20 yards. Margaret takes my hand in hers. Then Griffey, Sergeant Griffiths got hit. We made a dash for the bomb crater where he fell and dived in on top of him. "I knew you'd come to my rescue, boys Bach," he said. I can still hear him saying it. Smiling he was. Like we'd got him down from a tree or something, you know. He'd been shot through his thigh and the bullet was still in there. Bobby asked me for the stretcher, but I dropped it when we ran to the crater. I wanted to go and get it, but he told me to leave it. "Too dangerous, man," he said. Always looking out for me, he was, always. The train pulls away again and we cross the River Locher into Glamorganshire. Bobby got me to help him heave the sergeant onto his shoulders. Griffey, protested at first. "I'll be all right," he said. But with that bullet in there, he'd never have made it. Too much blood, After a couple of minutes, Bobi told me to have a look if it was clear, to make a break for it. I peeped over, but it was hard to see anything. It was chaos. I couldn't even tell whose side was who. I take a deep breath. That was the moment, Maggie, I say. That was the moment. Oh, Bach, she says comfortingly. I couldn't be sure, you know. There's too much to take in. Bobi got frustrated with me. Let me have a proper look, he said, and put Griffey down on the mud. Those are his last words, Maggie. Let me have a proper look. I saw the bullet burst through the back of his skull before he slumped backwards onto Griffey. He was dead before he hit the ground, Maggie. Oh, you poor thing, she says. You must have been in pieces. I stop talking and we hold hands in silence until Gowerton. We get off and walk the half-mile or so down Gower Road to her auntie's house. The drizzle has stopped, but my head is still buzzing with the thought of explaining everything to Rebecca. I wonder if she'll blame me, I say. Of course she won't blame you, she replies. You weren't the one who shot him. You didn't pull the trigger, did you? Well, no, but... You know, no buts, she says firmly. No wonder it drives you mad if you're going to blame yourself for something that wasn't your fault. It was just circumstances, Hobart. It was war. Neither of you would have chosen to be in those woods if you knew what lay ahead. Neither of you would have ever signed up for something so insane. Now, would you? Well, no, I don't suppose, I say. There you are then. You're a good man who has been through living hell for king and country, and you're still fighting for them, even after everything has happened to you. You should be proud of yourself, Hobart Ackerman, proud of who you are and what you have done, and not just for country, but for me, and for Verdun. You rescued us, and we will be eternally grateful to you. Brave, strong, and smart. That's what you are. She throws her arms around me and gives me a big, smacking kiss on the lips. Enough thinking now for one day, she said. Let's get to Dillis's house and have something to eat. Then nothing heavy this evening. Keep it light, you know. She loves her garden, so let's keep the conversation all leeks and potatoes, eh? Uncle Hugh will probably take you for a pint at the Square and Compass after. She pauses. If you're a good boy, she says. Well, I laughed, and we walked past the park, past Bethesda Chapel and into Hall Street. Maggie knocks the door of number 17. Hello, Bach, says Dillis. Dewch mewn, come in. Oh, nice to see you again, Hobart, she says. How are you? Never better, I reply. Never better. Maggie smiles.